Hi, this is Jim Jordan with Create Vibrant Health on December 7th, 2021. And today is my birthday, and it is also Pearl Harbor Day, a date that will live in infamy in our history. And today I want to talk to you about what's going on in the world and how it relates to Pearl Harbor Day and our system of government and what I'm grateful for. So what's going on in the world today, as many of you know, is in some countries in Europe that the unvaccinated are being quarantined. They're getting to be a clear division, like two classes of citizens, those that are vaccinated and those that are not. And those that are not being allowed to go shopping or go to certain events, and there are going to be many other more restrictions coming. Now, the beautiful thing is in the United States, we have a different system of government. We have a federal system of government. We have a system that has horizontal checks on power and vertical checks on power. By that I mean, an example, the Biden mandates, vaccine mandates were temporarily stayed by the federal district courts, several district courts that ruled that there's potential for them to be unconstitutional, and they're going to be bumped up to the Supreme Court level. But on the face of it, these are unconstitutional. So the courts can check the executive branch, okay? Because we don't live in a dictatorship. We don't live in a monarchy. It's not what the king says goes. We have an independent judiciary, and it's operating, thank God. We also have a Congress that could operate if it wanted to. It hasn't yet, but it could. And we also have vertical checks from the states, unlike in European countries where the federal government has incredible power and the states, the provinces have much, much less. The states are the repository of the vast majority of governmental powers in the United States. The federal government has enumerated powers in the Constitution. They're listed and they're limited. And the states have all the police power, so anything that's health related goes to the state level. And that's why we have such varying, such disparate policies in the United States in COVID, whether it relates to lockdowns and economic factors or social distancing and masking and vaccines. California, New York, and Illinois are going to operate much differently than Florida, Texas, Arkansas, Arizona, Utah, states like that. So what happens is with our system of government, it is much harder for an authoritarian government to take hold. And that was the design of the Constitution for that precise reason. And luckily, there's enough consciousness in people in power, whether it's in the federal branch, federal government, the courts, the states still, whether it's state legislators, state governors, state attorney generals, they understand this deeply enough that they are not capitulating to federal dictates or even state dictates. State mandates are unconstitutional. So America is really the best chance to put a halt to and potentially reverse the movement that is happening in the world towards authoritarianism. And by that I mean, in our society, it was designed, our structure of government was designed to optimize freedom and responsibility. People are free to live their lives the way they want until they harm others, and then they're responsible. But to harm others, you have to prove that they're harming others. You can't just assume they're harming others because they're not vaccinated. You have to prove that an unvaccinated person is a carrier of a deadly illness that can kill other people. And if that's the case, there's reasons to limit that person's freedom, but that has not been done. There's been no due process to prove that with any person. And the science doesn't back it up. And the science, of course, backs up the opposite, is that the people that have gotten these vaccinations are the ones more likely to be spreading these variant strains, which would mean almost, if there's going to be any mandates, it would be to mandate you don't get a vaccine, or you mandate that you take vitamin D or have sunlight or zinc and quercetin. But we don't believe in mandates. People that believe in freedom and responsibility believe that you're free to not take care of yourself and pay the consequence. You're free to make bad decisions and pay the consequence. But this is really it's not about conservative or liberal or Democrat or Republican. It's about freedom and responsibility versus lack of freedom and lack of responsibility. And our current national government is all about lack of freedom and lack of responsibility. People are not responsible for their actions, whether they're criminal actions, corporate actions, and they're not free to make their own decisions. So that's by definition, that is an authoritarian society, and that's what they have in China, and that's what they have in other communist countries, and that's what they had in fascist countries, Nazi Germany, fascist Italy, fascist Spain, back in the 30s, 1930s and 40s. So that's the distinction right there. So thank God, on my birthday, thank God for December 7th, 1941, when the United States, after we were bombed in Pearl Harbor, entered a Second World War and fought to liberate Europe and liberate ultimately Asia even. We liberated Japan, and they had a democracy after we defeated the Japanese. And the Marshall Plan created opportunities, economic opportunities in Europe. So if there ever was there's no benevolent countries, but if there ever were a benevolent action, it was in that era where we set that up. We helped, after the victory of the Second World War, the Allies basically gave the opportunity for these countries that were freed from authoritarian governments to have more freedom, more democracy, more self-rule, more independence, more natural rights. And that's what we're fighting for right now in the United States, around the world. And there's countries in Europe that are reminiscent of their fascist and communist past, are trying to lock down people that have not gotten a shot that doesn't prove that it protects them from anything. In fact, increases their chances of illness. Take away their freedom, their economic freedom, their right to work, their right to travel, their right to participate in society. And that's not acceptable. And the battle lines have been drawn, and the alarm bells are ringing, and the great people that are ready for this will step up, and those that are not willing to will capitulate and give in to the dictates of the masses or the dictates of their leaders, and not realizing that they are the leaders. They are the ones that are responsible. The reason we're in the mess we're in is not because there's a cabal that's behind this. It's because the people have abdicated their freedom and responsibility. They abdicated their duty to chain their governments to their constitutions, whether it's the American Constitution, the Canadian Constitution, the Australian Constitution, the British Constitution. They have abdicated. They did not do their duty. It's not the bad guys that make these things happen. It's the good people that do nothing. And we've done nothing for long enough. And the price is becoming heavy. It's becoming very heavy on the children who are now going to be lined up to be given these shots that are going to harm them. Already masking the little children, terrifying them, imprinting them with traumas, all for no health benefit, but actually all to lead towards a more authoritarian society where there is less freedom and less responsibility. So on December 7th, 2021, 80 years after the attack on Pearl Harbor, we have a chance, a call to arms. And the call to arms is not a call to aircraft carriers or tanks or M1s or whatever. It is a call to information. It is a call to teach and educate and have compassion for those that are in the fog. They're in the fog of this war, this propaganda war, but to fight with knowledge, truth, information, compassion, those are our weapons. So this information, every time I pass on information to help people, I feel like I'm doing something valuable. And that's our weapons right now, is information and compassion. Compassion for those that have bought into this agenda. The latest thing is the Omicron variant. Compassion for those that think that those who choose not to get these shots are following misinformation and are uninformed and fake news and all that nonsense. Compassion for them. Listen to them. Try to help them see. And in time, as the authoritarians get more bold and start to try to take away more and more freedoms, in time, these people will come out, have the chance to come out of the fog and realize that it's not for their benefit that these mandates have been executed, but it is for their control and for enslavement. And at that point, they'll have an opportunity to step out of that story and into the story of the fight for freedom and the fight for freedom for humanity, because our system was set up in a way to optimize human expression, to optimize human potential, to optimize our spiritual potential. Because without freedom, we can't do that. We're going to be scared to death of everything. Scared to death if we do something wrong, we're going to have our social credit score debited and we won't be able to eat. Scared to death we'll lose our job. Scared to death that we'll be arrested by the Stasi or the SS or whatever the new equivalent is. So there's no spiritual freedom, there's no artistic freedom, there's no creative freedom, there's no intellectual freedom without a structure of government that respects individual rights and the rule of law, the separation of powers, and checks on government and decentralized government. So that is what we luckily still have the remnants of in America. We have the structure of it. We have the structure of it in our Constitution. So God bless the founding fathers and mothers of the United States, because they set up something. They set up a system with multiple fail-safe mechanisms. Read the Constitution. Read the 9th and 10th Amendment, especially. Read the Federalist Papers. Understand the blessings we've been given by these brilliant human beings of the 18th century. That is our salvation. So this is Jim Jordan on December 7th, 2021, giving you a message, hopefully of hope, and to rise out of the fog and see the truth, the deeper truth that you will see in your own way, in your own time. Blessings to all.